could make from steel. How much more tragedy we have to endure to face the reality. Less is safer than more. The faster one travel, you're breaking distance. Double. I'm begging, I'm asking, I'm bleeding. Slow it down, boy.
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting the dial away and managed to bump into us. This is ZIZ Radio from Adam St. Kitts.
A pleasant good morning to the radio listeners and those who are viewing or streaming by the internet. I am Sergeant Henry of the Traffic Department. I am here this morning to speak about registration of vehicles. And as we have seen an influx of vehicles in the Federation in 2022, we had a total of 3,084 vehicles registered for last year alone. And this is a lot of vehicles, and the roads are not getting any bigger, the country is not getting any bigger or larger. So this morning I'm here to speak about vehicles registration. And when you import a vehicle on the island, there are two papers you have to come to the traffic department with. This is the paper from the custom, that's Custom and Excise Department, and also the importation paper. And also you have to come with your registration, your driver's license, because we have to get your license, also the information of the vehicle. So when you come into the traffic department, you come with all these things. And we're going to do the information, give you the paper, you get two papers. When you finish from the traffic department, you go to your insurance to obtain such insurance on the vehicle. Then you take it back to Inland Revenue to register the vehicle. You go to the port, then they release the vehicle. But before they release it to you, you have to come back to the traffic department to get a permission slip to move it from the port to the inspection site. Without that permission slip, you cannot move that vehicle. Because remember, the vehicle is not licensed yet. You have to, the reason why you go to the Inland Revenue is to get the registration of that vehicle. And with the influx of vehicles on the Federation or in St. Kitts, because Nevis doesn't have any traffic lights as yet. So, because of the influx, and we know some of us are not road courteous, so we have to put something in place for other persons who want to get out from a minor road into a major road. And that's why the government had a survey to see how the traffic is flowing in different areas. And with that survey, they introduced the traffic lights. And this morning I have with me Inspector Phipps, I have Mr. Cross, and I also have Mr. Pemberton. And they're here this morning to talk to you about the traffic lights. So before any further ado, I'll let Inspector Phipps introduce the two gentlemen I spoke of.
Good morning all, I'm Inspector Phipps, as Sergeant Henry has rightfully said. With me is Mr. Livingstone Pemberton. I know everyone knows him. He's the Chief Engineer at Public Works Department. And with us we also have Mr. Barrington Cross, who is the Traffic Signal Specialist. As mentioned, we all know that the Birdwalk Junction lights will be turned on today, and Mr. Pemberton will give you some insights, and Mr. Barrington Cross will give you further insight into the traffic signals and why the lights were placed in that specific area. Without, I'll turn over to Mr. Pemberton.
Thank you very much, Inspector Phipps and Sergeant Henry. Good morning to everybody. As we would have said last week, we would have started some work in the Birdwalk Baywood Junction, the civil works, and I can report to you this morning that those civil works, they are completed. Just some final touches that are taking place as we are speaking now, and we are just about at the point where we can have those lights coming into effect. I'm happy this morning to have with me my colleague, Mr. Cross, and he will delve further into the more technical aspects of the lights. And so, without much further ado, I hand you now over to Mr. Cross.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pemberton. Good morning to all out there. As usual, happy to be back in St. Kitts. Today is the day of commissioning of the traffic lights by the intersection of Bay Road and Bird Rock. I guess by now most Kittitians will be familiar with the whole set out of a traffic lights, but I will just go through in a bit more in a finer detail into the layout of the newly commissioned signals by the intersection of Bay Road and Bird Rock. Now, coming from the roundabout along Bird Rock, you have two lanes at the traffic lights. You have a exclusive lane turning right, so you use that lane to turn right from Bird Rock onto Bay Road, and then you have another lane, a true lane, true and left, that takes you right through, like you're heading towards the KFC along Bird Rock, or you can make a left into Rams. Before I go further, the circulation for the Rams supermarket will be changed, so you are now allowed to enter the Rams supermarket from Bay Road, or also from Bird Rock, coming from the roundabout to take the left. So that entrance that you see on Bay Road, it will be now transformed into an entry. Now, going back to the turning lane, coming from the roundabout, and you would have motorists traveling there would notice a 5-section head on the mast arm pole. Now, with the movements for the right turn arrow, when you see that right turn arrow comes on there, you are what you call a protected movement. You're allowed to turn right, but in all cases still, you still have to look, but you are what you call in a protective mode. You are freely allowed to make a right turn. When that arrow terminates and you get a green ball, if there is no motorists coming from the opposite direction or cars, you are allowed to turn right. I enforce that again. From once the way is clear, you can make that right turn on the green ball from Bird Rock onto Bay Road. Now on the left hand side, what we call a true and a left turn lane. That lane, you can either use that lane to go left into Rams or continue straight heading towards KFC. The opposite direction, coming from KFC, there's one lane, what we call two lanes. You have an exclusive lane, right turn lane, that allows you to make the right turn into the Rams supermarket. And you have a true and a left that allows you to go straight on, like heading towards the roundabout, going along Bird Rock, or you can turn left onto Bay Road. And the 5-section movement coming from the KFC is governed, as I said, as I spoke earlier. We have a right turn arrow, so if you get that right turn arrow coming from from Bay Road, coming from the KFC end, and you get that right turn arrow, you're allowed to turn right. If you get a green ball, you can only make the right turn if the way is clear. So we have a 5 section on either side of Bay Road. One coming from the KFC end, you can make that right turn into Rams. The opposite right turn arrow coming from the roundabout, that's the right turn from Bay Road, from Bird Rock onto Bay Road. Now onto Bay Road now you have 2 lanes. You have a left turn lane, that's a slip. It's not governed by the traffic lights, so you would have the giveaway signs and the arrows showing you that you can go and make the left, and from once the way is clear, you can merge onto and continue onto Bird Rock. It's important to note, as I say, it's a giveaway, so you need to look and carefully when you make that free left from Bay Road onto Bird Rock. Now the other lane is what you call a true and a right. That lane takes you straight into Rams, or you can make the right turn like you're onto Bird Rock, like you're going down to the KFC. So that's one lane there, and that lane governs a true and a right. We also have an exclusive pedestrian crossing, and when that is active, all movement is on red, and the pedestrian is free to move fully protected. I know it's a movement familiar, I guess, with something like the in some terms like what you have at Bay Road and 4th Street, where you have that 5 section arrow. And just to emphasize, as I said, especially with the arrows, that right turn arrow, going once again, when you get that right turn arrow, you're on a protective movement. You can freely allow to turn right. When that arrow terminates and you just have the green ball, you're allowed to make a right turn from once there's no cars coming in the opposite direction. So that's it for me for now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Cross and Mr. Pemberton. Also, some changes will be made to one way up in that area. The road directly between Rams Supermarket and the wholesale, that's the one that leads to automotive division or automotive art. Seymour Place, it will be a one way. You'll only be able to go up. You won't be able to come down and come out on the main road. You only can take a left turn when you're coming from north to south. You cannot take a right turn when you're coming from south to north, because you'll be cutting across the traffic. So you only can turn left when you're coming from the mountainside to go up into automotive. And when you come out of that wholesale place, Rams, you cannot come down and take a left or a right. You only can come out, and maybe you can cross over into Rams parking lot and come out. But you cannot come down because I have a sign there said no left turn. Any calls right now?
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to open the lines now, 465-2555. And for those of you in the United States area and Canada, you can use our exchange line, 718-577-2916. In the meantime, while we wait for those calls, let's take it back over to Sergeant Henry.
Okay, for the listeners out there, as Mr. Cross was indicating, if you are traveling from the Bird Rock roundabout towards KFC, there are 2 lanes. So you proceed, and after you clear the entrance for Rams, there will be 2 lanes. So you have a lane where you can go into KFC and straight to Bird Rock end. As mentioned before, the Rams Supermarket exit will now be the entrance. So you will make that left turn into Rams, that's from their then exit gate. As Sergeant Henry would have indicated, that road that leads to Island Auto Supply Seymour, that will be turned into a one-way. Once you exit in the Rams, you cannot make that left turn. You will have to proceed right, or you drive straight over to Rams Wholesale.
All right, let's take this first call. Good morning.
And good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I am great, man.
And good morning to Inspector Colin Phipps, Sergeant, and the two gentlemen on the panel. Yeah, I'm here listening, and to be honest, it's sounding a little confusing, but I think the best thing to do is for a person to physically go and see the difference in how the lights operate to get a gist of it. But for me, traffic lights is the best thing could have happened to think it. Because some persons just don't have any courtesy at all. And getting out of those, so some of those junctions was very, very difficult. So I'm glad for the traffic lights, but this one, at the one they're going to commission this morning, my advice is to go and see, maybe just come out of your vehicle and just watch certain movements before you venture and you end up in problem. Because listening it is sounding a little confusing, to be honest. But as I said, person just have to be patient and just follow the signs, follow the rules. But the traffic lights is very encouraging. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
All right, man. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, Carlo.
We have a question here from on the social media, and this person is asking about the entry and exit to Best Buy. How will that affect the flow of traffic?
Okay, once you're traveling from the Bay Road to Bird Rock and you enter, if you want to enter into Best Buy, as Mr. Cross rightfully said, you can make that right turn, but you have to be careful in doing that. As he indicated, there's an arrow and you have to be cautious. If the arrow is green and no other vehicle is approaching, you can make that turn. Also, as he indicated, there's a slip lane on the left that would take you to the opposite direction towards Central Bank. You know, we will give way to traffic on the right, so as you exit in that lane, you must give way before you enter the other lane.
All right, let's go to the phone line. Good morning, you're live.
Yes, good morning. I'm a little confused when y'all first start to speak. At one time, I'm thinking that y'all thinking about automotive art at the lead Walwyn, but then the lady said when you turn to go up to Simo Place, automotive art. So I was confused on that. If you play back the tape, you will see. I wasn't sure what she was talking about, Miss Henry. Okay. Secondly, you all also said, when she was on, she said, turn right from Boardwalk to Bay Road. That is impossible. Nobody could turn right from Boardwalk to Bay Road. So listen to the tape again. So I'm just saying, y'all take y'all time when y'all speak, not the direction you're talking about, because I'm very confused. As you play back the tape, you will see what I'm talking about. Okay? That's all I want to say. Take your time. Don't rush to nothing. Because it's confusing. Okay.
Thank you, Carlo. As I said, when you're traveling from south to north, you cannot do a right turn up into that road by Cash and Carry, which is Island Automotive. Thank you for the clarification. By Simo, the road that leads you up to Simo. You should not or you must not take a right. You cannot turn right on that road from the Bird Rock main road into the side road next to Cash and Carry. You can take a left when you're coming from Central Bank End into that road.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I want to agree with the previous callers that it is in fact far from clear. I think the lack of clarity comes from someone describing the roundabout, the Central Bank, as the Bird Rock roundabout. I think that's a wrong designation. I think if we use the term the Central Bank roundabout, it is far clearer, because there is in fact a roundabout up into Bird Rock itself, just past the bakery there, heading into Bird Rock proper. So when the person kept talking about coming from Bird Rock and going towards Bird Rock, when in fact he meant going towards the Central Bank or coming from the Central Bank, that I think that's where a lot of the confusion lies, along with other areas. But definitely it needs to be revisited in terms of the clarity. It is not as clear as it ought to be. Thank you.
When you're coming from the Bay Road and you want to take a left, as Mr. Cross said, there's a slip lane. That's when you're traveling to Central Bank. There's a slip lane that you can easily come out and continue on your direction. But if a vehicle is coming from the port area going to Central Bank, you have to make sure it is clear before you proceed over into the major lane. So he's talking about going to Central Bank coming from the Bay Road. And if you're coming from Birdwalk, the person who come out in the slip lane, they have to make sure that it's clear before they proceed into the major lane.
All right, here's a question for you. Can you turn right into Rams parking lot?
If you're coming from south, yes, you can.
Okay.
It's just that you cannot turn into that small road.
Okay.
The side road.
All right, cool. Let's go back to the phone line. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, I agree with the first caller. I think what needs to be done is that people will have to go there to see how the operation is really taking place. Okay, I'll leave that there. Quickly, I need a clarification here. I don't know if I misunderstood something. I didn't get something earlier, but if I misunderstand, please help to make me understand. That Best Buy area, now if a motorist or a driver is coming up the Bay Road from town area, coming up to go into Best Buy, I think it talks about the arrow, and if nobody is coming from the opposite direction, then the person can go in to Best Buy. What I would want to know in rush hours and so on, I guess because that is one of the more heavily traveled road. Now, in a time of the day when you have heavy traffic, I want to know, since the person cannot turn unless there is a clear signal from the opposite direction, what if the road is heavily trafficked that day and the arrow is on, but the driver going up, like he going, what is that? Is that in a northerly direction? Let's say the northerly direction, and wants to turn into Best Buy, but he cannot cross because traffic coming from Boardwalk area going into town area, wherever, it is full. No, that is going to create a bottleneck to me. Help me to understand, because maybe I'm misunderstanding something. To me, it seems like I see a bottleneck, and it's going to hold up traffic. Other drivers from those coming from the Bayfront area, because one person may not be able to go into Best Buy from that direction. Help me to understand.
Okay, caller, with that, the driver will proceed on the light and make that right turn into Birdwalk, continue, and then turn around and come back down on that slip lane, and it would give them that left turn into Best Buy.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Jico.
Yes, Culture.
And the four guests you have on the panel.
Yes,
Good morning.
I have a suggestion. These are not the days when you had a little signal on your vehicle to the side outside that you would flip out and you come back in. So therefore, you had to put out your hand to give signal. Now, if it is raining, pouring hard, it is hard for somebody to wind down the glass and put out the hand to give signal. So I would suggest that the police on the road make sure all vehicles, brake light and indicator are working from the rear. Because imagine a man driving a big truck, pulling a flatbed with a container on it. You driving behind that, unless those lights behind, indicator lights and brake light are not working, you cannot see whether he going left or right. So let us go on the road and make sure all vehicles, rear lights are working. I got more to say, but time short. Next week. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller, for that.
All right, we'll take one more call and we'll wrap up the program for this morning. You're live and lively.
Yeah, good morning. Kyo.
Yes, man, morning.
What's up, and good morning to the panel.
Good morning.
I think I have an area which you are all over. I've recognized it before the lights were commissioned, and it's an issue, it's a problem. You ever recognize that people are coming out of Best Buy when you're coming down from Bird Rock and also coming out of Brisbane. Now, when they're coming out from there, they can't see up the road good, you know. And they're coming out, going across the road to swing up to go towards Rams. I don't believe that could work anymore. If they're coming out from Best Buy, they could only go down the road. Also, if they're coming out from Brisbane, because it's going to create a problem. I don't know if you all recognize that, but you should look at it. Because a lot of times they're coming down from Bird Rock, and somebody pushing out the front from Best Buy to come out from there. It's just a matter of time before you have an accident. Because they can't see good either, so they have to push out a certain way. Right? So, I don't know. They could only, to me, it seems as though they're going to be only able to go down the road if they're coming out from Best Buy or Brisbane. And you just have a lot of vehicles parked up outside Brisbane. And it makes it difficult for you to see down the road when you're coming out too. So, you know, look at that.
Okay, caller, restriction will be in place outside Brisbane, and once you are exiting Brisbane, you have to make that left turn, and you could go all the way down and pass the fishery. If you want to head back to Bird Rock, you do that turn down there, and you come up on the left side, and you proceed to whichever direction you intended to go. With regards to the Best Buy, traffic will not be restricted in and out of Best Buy. It's just that you would have to, when you're exiting, you take the same route as if you are exiting Brisbane. You go left.
All right, well, that's it for this morning. I want to thank you all for calling. I want to thank you all for being here for another program on The Road. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place to do it all over again. Sergeant Henry, any last words from you and your guests?
Yes. As I've said earlier, remember the light will be commissioned today at 1 o'clock. So if persons are confused with what have been said, they can come and view it for themselves. Remember, restriction will be on the road next to Cash and Carry. The sign will be there, say one way. When you come out from Cash and Carry, it will say no left turn. So I'm just imploring on the drivers, please to follow the signs that are there, and also remember to go with the traffic lights. I know some of us, we rush when we see the amber light. The amber light is not for you to rush through the traffic. It is for you to know that the red light is coming, so slow down, not rush through. And as Mr. Cross said, there's a solid green light. If you want to turn in a different direction, if the arrow is not on and the solid light is on, and there's no oncoming traffic, and you can turn. So you don't have to wait till the arrow comes for you to turn right. Once it's a solid light and no oncoming traffic is coming, you can proceed.
Okay, as changes come, so we have to comply with all changes. And the traffic light there at Bird Rock is no different to the traffic lights that are in the other areas. The only addition is a slip lane, which is much easier to get you in and out of that area. What you have to do, you have to drive, or you could visit there, and it will be done live. And so we'll show you how to use that area this afternoon. And you have to drive to understand it. You can't just step back and say it's confusing. You have to be in it to understand what is going on.
Okay, thanks, Inspector. Just to emphasize, if you have to visit, visit non-peak, off-peak, please, and you can just, I'll be out there during the course of the day if you have any questions, but visit off-peak, not during the peak, please. Just to emphasize, as I said, right turn arrow, you're free to turn right. You can turn right on the green ball if the way is clear, very important. So you're basically giving way on the green ball. And I heard some concern about Best Buy. Motorists coming out of Best Buy, if you have to just proceed with caution. As you do now, you look and you watch. Because the traffic light is regulated. There's nothing different in terms of it. So if you're coming out and you see that Bay Road is full of traffic, you don't want to block the intersection if you're going to turn right. So you don't go out and block the intersection. You know, you allow vehicles to pass it. So if there's no way to go, you stay back. I've done the modeling for the intersection. It's a fairly efficient intersection, so you just need to exercise patience and in time, as just with the other signals, and you'll get used to the operation of it. So as I said, I'll be out there today.
Okay, and I just want to say to the traveling public that we are finally at the point where the lights will be commissioned. We will be observing over the next few days to see how it is working. And as Mr. Cross would have said, you are free to come out and observe with us so that you can maneuver within the junction with much more efficiency. Again, as I always say, plan your route before you leave. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here once again. Onanaka Report is up next. And I'll be coming to your compliments to Grange.
Don't be the next victim.